So I'm really excited today, Freya. Thank you so much for joining me on what was going to be a live but is now recorded interview. For all of our viewers that come along and I guess share in this experience and this wisdom offering, this is Freya Savage, who is a money and soul coach. And today what we're going to be doing is exploring a little bit around her story and her journey, uncovering her experience in finance and then moving over to more of a holistic energy approach and all the goodness that comes along with that. So Freya, I'll be quiet and I'll hand it over to you. I guess first and foremost, thanks so much for joining me. And I'd love for you to start off just sharing a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Louise, thank you so much for having me. I have to share how I found you, which I did send you a note and let you know, but I hardly ever read my Gmail personal emails because I just, I'm very, very careful with filtering. Like I have my notifications turned off on everything, and it's rare that I go in there. And I went in there and I saw this email about like being busy, doing things just to do things. And I was like, oh my God, this is me. I do this. And I read it. And then at the end, Louise is like, oh, and if you have a story to share, reach out to me. And I was like, I've got a story to share and I love you already. Yeah, so I had so much connection to you right away. And I have no idea how you even ended up in my inbox, but I'm very grateful for it. I'm super grateful.
The email fairies.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the email fairies. So my story is, there's so many parts to it, but I'm just going to go to the part around the transitioning out of finance into, I'm still in finance, but it's a way that now feels good for me. So initially I was in high school and I was in year 12. And we had 2 hours left to decide what we were going to do at uni, like what our preferences were going to be. I had 2 hours. I had initially thought I was going to be an artist. I loved art. But then on the other side, I also did all the math subjects, like the specialist maths, the math methods, the further mathematics. And not because I loved it, mind you, but because I wasn't very good at it. And I was really good at looking at what I wasn't good at and focusing on that to make myself, like I was focused on where I felt there was lack rather than focused on what felt really good to me. So that was the way that I had kind of always been, I guess, coming from a place of feeling like I wasn't good enough. So I had done a lot of mathematics subjects and I looked science, which what will make you the most down the track. And like, I think I looked at fine arts and it was like $1 sign. And then then somewhere along the way, there's like economics and finance and it's got $4 signs. And I was like, oh, that's as many dollar signs as you can go up to. I'll do that. And that's literally how I chose to do finance, is based on the money itself. And I went through uni kind of like half-heartedly, like some subjects were really interesting to me, but most of them were pretty boring, and then got into financial advice in an internship. I loved the people I worked with, and it was more like I fell into it. Like opportunities just came my way and I just went for them. I didn't know anything else. Like I didn't have a network. I didn't know what was possible. I didn't know what I didn't know. And all I knew was what was put in front of me. I didn't know to go and search for different things. So I went down this path of kind of just becoming a financial advisor without actually ever making the choice to become a financial advisor. And then I did my CFP, which is accountants do their CAs or CPAs. And I was one of the youngest people to ever have gone through and do the CFP as well. So I was on a track to become quite an established advisor. And then I worked for a few firms and helped older people around their investments, helped like wealthy people manage their investments. It was very investment focused. I used to educate other financial advisors on how to manage investments as well. So I was quite high up in the strategy realm. Like that was my thing. But what I really wanted to do was I wanted to work with millennials. I wanted to work with people who were starting off. I wanted to work with people who were passionate. I wanted to work with people who wanted to create something. And I wanted to work with people who had time on their hands, because I know that so much can be done if you start now. If you start like when you're 50 or 60, it's a lot more difficult, you know, to get financial freedom. But if you start now, you don't need a lot to get started and to make a huge difference down the track. But if you're just starting to think about it once you become rich, or when you feel like you now have a cash flow surplus, it's often too late. I mean, it's still going to help, but you could have done so much more if you started earlier on. Even with, I love this example of $50 a week. Most of us have got $50 a week that we can spare, or we can work an extra hour or 2 hours. And $50 a week over 50 years, if you invest that into just like an average growth portfolio, which most of you don't know what that means, and that's fine because you weren't taught that, but know that it's possible for you to have that. That's almost $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is what I wanted to do. I wanted, like your face right now, like, wow. I wanted people to get excited and feel empowered. And I knew that this wasn't the way to do it. And I wasn't empowered myself. I was working in Collins Street, wearing a suit, and like, I just was deeply unhappy. I remember sitting at my desk one day thinking, you know what? I would like to get cancer. Not so severe so I die, but severe enough that I don't have to work anymore. And I didn't realize that wasn't a normal feeling to have. And that was kind of the moment, you know, that something shifted. And I kind of got this awareness of, oh, like, is that normal to feel like that? And I'm like, surely there's something else. Surely there's more than this. Like, how am I going to do this for another 40 years? And then I decided to go traveling with my partner at the time. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to go traveling without a goal, without something to do, because that's, you know, I've always had this thing of like, to be of value, I must be doing something. So we decided, okay, let's cycle from Phuket up to Bangkok with everything on our bikes. And that felt good for me because I'm like, okay, cool. We have like a goal. We have something to work towards. So we put our stuff in storage. I quit my job and my boss said to me, are you quitting or are you taking a long absence? And I'm like, and I kept 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I was like, oh, I'm taking a long absence. Mind you, it's been 2.5 years now, and I've never gone back. So
safe to say you probably won't.
I probably won't. So yeah, we went cycling, and it took me. Then we extended our trip, and probably 6 or 7 months in, did I finally feel enough inside of myself to just relax a little bit. Like I was making YouTube videos about our trip. Like I always felt like I had to have something to do. And it took me that long to actually just feel into myself and be like, oh, I don't need to do anything to be of value. I'm whole the way that I am. And I still always have to remind myself this, but this was kind of the first moment that I felt like that. And then at that moment, I also knew I couldn't go back to working in corporate. I realized how deeply unhappy I was. And I studied plant-based nutrition at that time as well online. Also became a raw food vegan chef. And I'm really into fitness. I do ultra marathon running. I'm a yoga teacher. So I'm like, okay, this is the industry that I'll go into. But I knew that money was also important. I just didn't know how to tie it all in. Then I got an opportunity from a friend of mine, and she said, why don't you come back to do it being an advisor? And I said, no way, I'm out. I don't want to work for anybody else. I don't want to I don't want to be in, I feel constricted with that kind of work. And she's like, let me go back and think about this. And she came back to me and she said, what about if you work for yourself and we just provided you the support and we were the umbrella for you? And I was like, okay, well, I've got nothing to lose. I might as well try it. So for a year, I worked under this company, which is an amazing company, and I did financial coaching, and we worked just with millennials, and I saw how it could work. And it was amazing. And I'm like, oh, this is it. This is closer to where I want to be, because I know that financial education and money is such an important part, because this other area of health and wellness, it's not possible without money. And this health and wellness, like, yes, it's such an important area, but I feel like there are so many people, so many amazing people who provide support in this. But on the money side, I was even finding it hard. I didn't even know how to manage my own money. And I studied economics and finance, had a CFP, and had 10 years doing high-level investment advice. I didn't know how to manage my cash flow. I didn't know how to invest in a way that was easy and simple. This is stuff I only learned in the last year, like how to do it in a way that feels good and that you can do yourself. Because the thing is, as a financial advisor, you want to be adding value. So you make things more complicated, not all the time, but you can make things more complicated so you feel like you're providing value. But now what I want to do is I want to teach people how they can do it themselves, so they don't need me. So they can do it themselves. They can be self-empowered. And then I can help them with the coaching on an ongoing basis around the money mindset stuff. So this came to realization when I was working for this other company where I was a financial coach. And I was like, you know what? It's still not freeing enough for me, because we were still doing people's investments for them. We were still doing their superannuation for them. We were still responsible for their financial results in a way. And I was like, nope, this is still not right for me. Plus I had to go to meetings at certain times, even though they're online. I was like, nah, I don't feel good about that either. So I went out by myself, and I've been coaching now in my own business since January, and I've been running investment courses. So teaching people how to invest in a way that, like, you don't need a lot of money to do it, but a way that's going to support you, a way that you own your money rather than your money owning you, your assets owning you. And this feels really good for me. So I feel like, yes, I've definitely found my path. And it's funny because, you know, in hindsight, I'm really grateful for all the choices that I made. And even though at the time I didn't follow my heart doing fine arts, I went down the road of finance, but I want to make it clear that you can find something that's soul aligned no matter where you are, no matter what path you go down. It actually doesn't matter what industry you're in or what you do. What matters is that, like, you're speaking from a place that's authentic to you. And I think often we can feel like we hate the industry, but like, know that there's something juicy in there, and you can share something you've learned, your knowledge and your experience, no matter what your background is. Like, know that you've got something to help others, and you're going to be able to inspire other people. And this is also what I really, my big message for particularly women, you know, that, like, nothing in the past has been a waste. Like, you have something amazing inside of you, something amazing to share. And it doesn't necessarily matter what you do, but it matters how you do it.
Absolutely. Freya, oh my goodness, like, I'm totally in love with all of that, like, honestly. And really, I think, you know, there were some key highlights through your journey that I could definitely recognize in my own, and that I obviously working with women, you know, starting and turning businesses into profit, you know, very key, I guess, elements that everyone kind of goes through as well. I think one of the first one was, you know, you mentioned, and I found this really interesting. It really it just stayed with me through that. All of that was, you know, we're taught to look at what we don't like as opposed to what we do. And I see this still very often, like either in real life or on social platforms. Like, you know, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, just eliminate everything that you don't like. And it's like, well, why? Like, you know, it's coming from a mindset lack. It's like, well, find the things you're passionate about, right? And find the things that you love. And so I really loved how you said that. And I loved your journey of being a corporate escapee, from one corporate escapee to the other. And it's funny how you mentioned, you know, you felt like that was your normal, you know, wanting to get cancer. My normal was that I wanted to end my life, and I thought that was normal for a really, really long time. It took me probably 2 years to actually go, oh, this is not normal to want to end, not be here anymore. And it's funny because I've been talking with people lately who have been saying similar things, like, I wish that this would happen to me so that I didn't have to work anymore, but I could get, you know, incomes other ways. And it's like, you know, it's interesting that we say this stuff and we don't realize that that's not normal. So for anyone else that is watching, or, you know, this and listening to it, if you resonate with that, you know, it's so important to recognize it's not normal to be feeling so unhappy or so miserable or looking for extreme way outs when there is you know, a very nice path to take, you know, to get out and to I guess get into a business or into a job, or, you know, follow whatever it is that you kind of want to be doing, so that you can live a life on a, you know, a bigger scale, and just do what you love and travel and adventure and, you know, all these amazing things. So yeah, so it was super interesting. So what I guess, so firstly, for everyone that doesn't realize, I'm sitting here in the freezing cold next to a heater. It is winter coming on in New Zealand, and you are sitting in the lovely Canggu, that's how I say it, isn't it? Canggu over in Bali.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what shifted you from Melbourne, you know, Collins Street corporate, to now currently being in Bali with your partner, and you've been over there for a little while?
Yeah. Firstly, though, Louise, I just wanted to acknowledge you and for sharing that and working with other women on bringing them, helping them to realize their lightness inside of them, and for them to realize that it's not normal to be like deeply unhappy. Like, absolutely, we have emotions, and it's okay to, like, you know, we're human, to go through these ups and downs, but to, like, be helping other women to see that, oh, you know, it doesn't have to be like this. I think that's a really, like, I really admire that you're sharing your story with other people as well. Yeah.
I feel like it's really important, right? Because there are so many of us that sit around, you know, being a corporate in Melbourne as well, in my previous life, you know, we sit around and we talk about how deeply unhappy we are and come up with all these ways that we could get out, right? In these extreme ways. And I guess through having powerful conversations like this, we're actually able to shift some mindsets and be like, imagine if we didn't think like that, and we thought about the really good ways that we could actually, you know, still live an amazing life, and we haven't had to overcome, you know, illness or, you know, severe challenges, and, you know, to then get on the right path. Because a lot of us kind of get down that path, and then I definitely know for myself, you know, I went through some really big mental health challenges by being deeply unhappy, and I had to do a lot of work to really get through that. And it's like, well, imagine if I didn't put myself, and imagine if others didn't put themselves in such a miserable place, like how much quicker we could actually get to doing what it is that we loved, and helping people if that's what we choose to do, to be able to, you know, to actually live a fulfilled life. And you know, so that's why I love having conversations like this with you, to actually, you know, it's so aligned, and then be like, you know what, everyone, there are now 2 people saying you don't have to be miserable. How many more people do you need to hear that you don't have to be miserable to live a great life?
Yeah. And I think that that is a really nice segue to your question about like, how did I get to Bali? And that's that transitioning, because it can seem so scary. Like when I was in corporate, I did have another business and I did teach yoga. So I did have other income streams, but the way that I lived my life was the amount of money that I was used to spending, I could not fathom to then go and teach yoga as a full-time job. But I realized that I was spending money as a band-aid for instant gratification. And then it was actually the transition for me was being overseas and having on that bicycle trip, like we could only take what we could carry. So I had no choice but to strip down. And this is one of the things that I teach, that I don't teach women, because we all know this stuff innately, but I bring home that first we need to clean it out. And this comes to what in spending as well, like strip it all back to see like, what do you actually need? Like what is around you that you don't need and is not serving you and doesn't make you feel expansive? Because I felt, and this is not everybody, I felt more expansive not having a lot of stuff around me. But mind you, now I've gone back and now I buy really beautiful things that I really love. Like I have beautiful jewelry that I really love. And if I see something beautiful, I'll buy it. So, but I don't hold on to like my period undies anymore with like holes in them, you know, like they're out. Like, so it was the part of the transition for me was clearing out what didn't serve me anymore. And if I was still working, perhaps that would mean reducing my working hours. Maybe that means working 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. And then using that extra day to firstly build self-confidence and spend some time with myself. Because if I started a business, like if I started trying to coach, working in that environment where I was so deeply unhappy and I felt like I was nothing, I know that I would have really burnt myself out. But first I needed to give myself some self-love. And I'm not saying that like, you know, doesn't need to be a step-by-step process. You can be doing it all at the same time. And in fact, I think it's good to be doing it all at the same time, because in Ubud, right, there are many people there who go there to heal. We are all humans. We all have baggage. We all have this darkness. We all have so much to explore. But I feel that we can get stuck in it. We can get really attached to the darkness and the sadness. So absolutely look at it. But you can also create in the meantime while you're still doing the work, because the work never stops. But for me at that stage, I was so deeply unhappy that I knew first I needed some self-love. That was the first thing for me. And that's what traveling gave me for that long period of time, and not having anything around me to distract me. So I forget now what your question was. Transitioning. Yeah. So the transition for me was, I went all in. Like I went straight from having a job with a 6-figure salary to quitting and earning nothing and then building it up. That is not something that I recommend for everybody.
I did that too, and I don't also recommend it to everybody.
Yes. No, I really, for me as well, I was in a different situation where I was in Asia. It's life is very cheap here. You know, it can be. If you need it to be, it can be. It's very different from living in Melbourne, and the money, the amount that you need to like have a good life is a lot more than what it is living in, you know, Vietnam or Thailand. So I was lucky in that sense, but I also don't believe in luck here, because I made those choices myself and know that you can do it as well, even if you've got kids. I've seen people traveling with their kids and starting like a business and starting coaching or videos or cafes or whatever it is. But I said it kind of just worked out that way for me. If I stayed in Melbourne, I don't think it would have taken me a lot longer. to transition out. Maybe it would have been smoother as well. But I definitely had a lot of dark days in the transition. It was really scary. And I still have those days where I feel afraid.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, now everything's perfect. No, because it's not even about the external circumstances. It's about the inner work. And a lot of the inner stuff I found came up when I gave it the space and when I started to do what felt good for me. And some days, yes, it's super challenging, but I still know that I'm on the right path. And knowing that, I feel like I have 2 feet firmly on the ground. And I know what that feels like not to have that. And I even know what it feels like to be listening to me right now and comparing yourself and feeling like, but I don't know my path. And feeling like there's something wrong with you because you don't know your path. But that's okay as well, because the more you do things that make you feel good, then you'll start to get downloads from your desires, from your soul. And this is, I believe the universe puts desires in us, not so we can renounce them or so we can ignore them or so we can work on not taking action on our desires so we can put other people first. No, those desires are put in us as a roadmap. And the more we listen to them, it doesn't matter if they make money, if it's for money or not, but doors will start to open. And I can promise you that. I don't know how it works, but it does work. Like money will start to just flow when you start doing things that feel good for you, whether it means like, so you like want to go for a walk in the park right now. But then you're like, oh no, but I've got this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this to do. The walk in the park is going to make you more money in the long term than doing your to-do list. And you're going to feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
And this is when I feel like you really start to be able to listen and be able to hear your path. And it's okay not to know what it looks like in the future. It might just be what it looks like right now in this moment. I like to imagine it like you're in a car and you're driving at night and you've got the headlights on and you can't see the path in front of you. You can only see, a few meters and as you keep going, you can see more and more and you're like, oh, this is what the next bit looks like. Oh, this is what the next bit looks like. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening with us. And you only know what it looks like when you keep moving towards it. But if you're standing still with like analysis paralysis, or like you feel overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, then you're just going to be in that car that's just stopped on the side of the road and you're not going to be moving anywhere.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you, Freya. Like, it's really interesting that obviously we've brought this up because, we can compare ourselves so easily, in this world, either to people that we know, to friends, to colleagues, family, and we have the beautiful joy of, social media, where we can compare ourselves now to billions of people around the planet. And it's so easy, regardless of, even if we're not talking about, business and finding that soul alignment, and it's just our health or, the houses that we live in or the cars we drive or any of the things, we can really look at that and be like, oh, but I need to have that too. And it's like, how do I get it? And, business, like if we turn back into that, the only way you get that, like no one actually knows the next step ahead, right? I'm sure that you can probably agree with me. It's like there is no 5-year plan. You can have goals, absolutely, but I don't know the next step forward. Like I just go and try lots of different things and I go, well, what will bring me joy and happiness? Like, what do I love? What's going to make me happy? Is it going to be doing X? Well, no. Well, then don't do it. Go and do what you do like doing, because that's, and to get on an energy level, but that's what brings you joy and love and happiness and raises your vibration and attracts the things that you want into your world. And you'll get to go and do it. And it's like, cool. I'm a big fan for reflection, and it's like, what do I need to stop? What do I need to start? And what do I need to continue? Because not everything we go and do, we're going to fall in love with, because we don't know. We've not done it before. But you've got to go out
Yeah.
and really try some things and get yourself, you know, out of your comfort zone, just like we would in life. It's like, I refer a lot back to dating. It's like, you know, if you've got a partner, you just didn't just magically, they didn't come knock on your door and be like, hello, I'm here for you, because that would be really weird. But it's like, you know, you had to start talking to people, and you had to start dating, and you had to start, you know, learning lots of different things and being like, cool, I like that value in you, or I don't, or whatever. And then that's what attracts, of course, I don't have a partner, but I assume that's what attracts, you know, your soulmate into your world. And
Yeah.
it's exactly the same in business, and, you know, and finding that next step. And we do get hung up on the outcome so much, or the comparison, and wanting to be somewhere that we're not, that we forget about the fun along the way, and the joy, and the just getting out there. Because the fun, like the vibration of love is obviously, you know, what we're all universal being for. And then we can attract into our lives. You know, there's a lot of, I'm just going to sit here and manifest and hope that money starts flowing into my life or whatever. And it's like, I wish it worked like that. I'm sure you wish it worked like that. But there's no magical money tree. It simply comes from being able to go, right, what do I want to do? I love this. This is my passion. I'm going to go and try something. If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. I will find something else along the way. Or if it does and it brings me more joy and happiness, then I trust that something will come next. And I trust that the next step comes along. And I trust that I'll know what to do. And I trust that I will be financially rewarded based on my time and energy and love that I put into it. And as you said, you know, is it scary? Absolutely. Like, you and I have both come from, you know, high-end corporate, very consistent incomes and certainty, and had to, you know, recreate our entire world and do a lot of inner work to be able to get there. You know, your journey was going over to Asia. My journey was, I took my rent money and basically made myself homeless, like literally couch surfing. And at that time, I didn't really have too many friends to fall on. So, like, was just really lucky that every single time someone was like, you know, my auntie, my uncle, whatever. And the first 12 months of my journey was literally couch hopping. And because like you, I needed to get rid of everything. I needed, like, obviously literally get rid of everything, but you know, it was, everything went into storage, and I didn't have to worry about all of that stuff. It was simply, what do I want right now, and what brings me joy and happiness, and how do I keep moving forward, and how do I take the money that we do have and invest it and fail, and, you know, and obviously go, oh, I needed that, I need to bring that back. But yeah, you know, and that kind of gets you on that next step forward. So I like you, I'm not encouraging anyone to go and leave their jobs tomorrow, move to Asia, you know, go homeless, whatever. But if you do, just know that it will work itself. You can help, like, you can make it work out by simply finding that joy and happiness to be able to find that next step forward. And can there be a lot of pressure? Absolutely, if you take some scary paths. But, you know, we'll always work it out, right? There's that desire, as you mentioned, that comes through. So,
and I think just to add on to that, you know, I had a family friend, my partner's uncle, actually. He spoke to me and he was like, he was quite triggered by what I was saying, because he has a family. They go to private school. He has a mortgage, and he's not happy in his job. But he feels a lot of pressure. Like, you know, it's easy for you to say, Freya, you know, you don't have responsibilities. And I'm really glad he said this to me, because it really made me think. And I don't think it doesn't. I think this comes back to comparing as well. We can get confused about what we really want, like what makes us really happy, by seeing the way someone else lives. Like, it might feel good, like, oh, you know, I'd love to live in Bali as well, and like go to yoga every day, and like wear boho clothes and whatever. But that might be because you've seen someone else doing it. Like, is it really because it feels good for you? And for him, I asked him what he values the most. He said his family, spending time with his family. Is he getting that right now? He said, yeah. He gets to go on trips with them, take them away, He gets to see them after school. He gets to go to all of their events. They go bike riding every weekend. And I felt like, you know, maybe comparison is actually the thief of your joy right now.
Yes.
Maybe it's okay to be working in a job. He said his job's okay. Like, it's okay. Working a job that's okay, that gives you the support to be able to spend time with your family and create a great life for them and with them. And if you can shift that into gratefulness and to feeling like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this job, imagine how your life can change. So I think sometimes it's not even like, you know, following what we love to do doesn't have to be a career. It can be spending time with somebody who means something to us. It can mean like carving out time to spend to meditate or to like go for a walk every day. And I think this is super important, that it looks different for everybody. And you mentioned like, yes, like you don't know what your life's going to look like in 5 years. And I totally feel that as well. And I feel like we can get so caught up into the future, we forget to have fun, your words, where we are right now. And even today, right, I was like rushing around. I'm like, I've got this live on, don't have time to go and get a smoothie. And Chris is like, you've got time, come and get a smoothie with me and sit with me. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I do. You know, and even today I was like, oh no, I don't have time to go surfing. And I noticed even me, like I coach people on this stuff and I even do it. I fall back into this trap and here I am living the dream, living my full life. And I still find myself in this scarcity mode. So it's not actually what you've created. I mean, yes, that's important as well. It just makes life a lot easier when you've got beautiful things around you and it feels good. But it's the work on the inside. Like, how grateful are you? How much do you stop and notice that every moment, this moment is just as important as a moment if you're on stage talking to 1,000 people. The moment that you're brushing your teeth is just important as the moment when you're getting married. Like, each moment is just as important as the next. So what can we find in this moment and shift the way we perceive it? So and be grateful for it. Yeah.
It really is. It's so true. And I guess, like, this is going off on a small tangent before we get back on track, but you know, this is something I also talk about with my clients. Like, it's interesting because I teach a lot of digital media strategies, and you know, we're consumed in the world of likes and comments and, you know, growth on social platforms, blah blah blah. And a lot of my clients have never been on social platforms, so we're starting from scratch. And one of them, you know, quite recently, we were talking about it's Instagram and, you know, how it was growing and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, no one really comments other than the people like that I know. And it's like,
right,
exactly. And that really triggered me. And I was like, hold up here, let's be grateful to those people that actually take the time to do that, because they don't have to. Like, I don't have to sit there and comment on your post. I do it because I've read it and I want to engage and, you know, contribute because I liked what I've read. And that's why I spend time on my social platforms. And let's just be really mindful and grateful to the people that are here supporting you, because not only are they contributing and supporting you while you're doing your posts, which is one, really scary for a lot of people to even start doing, but secondly, it's actually helping you and all of, you know, the social platform algorithms, etc., to be able to get your business back out there. So let's let go of how many people are liking and commenting and how many follows we have, and we can actually just be grateful for what is coming in right here, right now, and, you know, and that we're getting some really positive feedback. And, you know, and it's the same kind of what you just said there, like just be like, get into that moment and, you know, and be grateful, whether that be in our jobs or in a business or in our health or relationships, etc. And find the reasons why we love them, because that's love, you know, that bring more happiness. So, you know, you and I are probably going to go into a great big woo-woo conversation here.
I know, right? I do. Can I add more to that I wanted to add
Yeah, go for it.
before we keep moving. Okay, it's about vision. Am I still there? I feel like
Yes.
my connection's not so great at this moment.
No, you're back.
Okay. Okay, cool. So when I feel personally from my experience, when I'm feeling grateful for what I have in this moment, then I have more space to actually think about my vision in the future. And then it feels really good to actually, I have a 10-year vision, a 5-year vision, because like the car driving, like you kind of need to know what direction you're going in at least. And it's okay if it changes along the way. But to have something that you're working towards, I think it's really important as well. Like if you're in a partnership, to do this together as well. Feel like as a team you're moving on. Or if you have a business and there's someone else in your business as well, or even if it's just yourself, to like know which direction you're going in. And it's okay for it to change. But I do think it's very important to still have a vision, but realize that like the moment right now, that's the moment.
Yes. Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, you can proceed.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. Like, you know, you have to, you know, I talk about it like Google Road Maps, right? Or if I'm putting it in, and if I'm going to go visit my friend that I've never been to her house, and I'm not just going to get in a car and hope that my car knows where it's going, because who knows where I'm going to end up. So you need to know the end outcome, but just like Google Maps, it will tell you to turn left and then go, oh, there's a roadblock, or, oh, we didn't know there was a new street there. And, you know, and you'll hit the challenges along the way. And, you know, and then you go, oh, okay, how do I get through those? And, you know, finding the gratitude in those moments, because I'm human like everyone else. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't want that challenge to come up. Or this is really, really frustrating me right now. It's like, okay, well, let's just get grateful to it. And when you're grateful, you'll progress through to the next stage. And it's like, every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Freya, I guess what I would love to know from you, you know, with your, you know, you've got some amazing experience, you know, not only with money, but also with health. So, you know, specifically focusing on your money and your soul coaching, what would be one piece of advice that you would love to be able to offer, you know, for anyone that is, I guess, tuning in and watching this?
Oh my God, there is like around money, there is so much there, but I'm gonna say something logical here, and talking about and investing, and with debt and in debt versus investing, they're very different, but they can be the same. And stay with me here for a moment. So if you're borrowing money for something that's not going to grow in value, so you're using the credit card to buy the groceries, to buy clothes, live, you're choosing insignification in the moment, and you're stealing away from your future self. If you're using debt for something that is going to grow in value, it might be a financial asset. And there's more in this, you know, if you're buying a home versus an investment property, very different. A home is not a financial asset. A home is an emotional asset. So if you're using debt for investment that's going to grow in value, it's going to bring you income, it's going to bring you growth. This can be education as well. I think debt can be really well used here. I think it can sometimes be necessary. So my first rule around that is don't use debt, don't borrow for anything that's not going to increase in value. The second thing is around investing, and you can use debt for investing.
Yeah.
Right. But when you invest, make sure that you're looking at your vision and you're looking at what makes you happy, and make sure that they match. Because what I see is people investing in investments to just invest.
Yeah.
So if someone said, like, let's use Bitcoin. I know it's like a really cheap punch, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but you know, you hear your neighbor talking about it. You've got things on your Facebook feed. It was probably like 12 months ago when everyone was like really, it was becoming really big and really loud and a lot of noise around it. What happens is you're like, oh, I want to get rich quick too. But you're not thinking about your goals. You're not thinking about your vision. You're not thinking about what makes you happy. You're just going in. And then that's what happened. People went in at the top and then it crashed. I mean, it might not have crashed. And if it didn't crash and it went up, to be honest, it's still a bad decision because it wasn't based on and it wasn't based on any education. It wasn't based on your own goals and your own vision. It was based on greed, which is okay. You know, I've done things as well based on greed. But I'll leave you with something that I think it's George Soros said. He's like a great economist. He said that be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really great way to live by, particularly around investments. But know that investments can support you in your goals and in your vision, but they can also pull it all down. So it's super important to really think about what investments are going to match the way you want to live your life and how they're going to support you.
Yeah, making conscious money decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which don't we all wish we did when we were young and 20?
Totally. Yeah, totally. And to know that, you know, you really don't need a lot to support yourself in the future, and know that your future self is going to thank you if you like get to know your money now and you get educated around money, that you're going to see a huge payoff down the track. And that's the biggest, from my experience, the biggest investment you can make is investing in your future.
Yeah.
And that's through education, it's through self-growth, and it's through financial security, being financially independent and starting now to do that.
Yeah, it's so important. I've recently relocated back to New Zealand to spend 12 months with my family, and I hadn't been here for 11 years, and I live in a small town, and the age demographic is, you know, retirement age. And, you know, I've been off living my 20s, early 30s, you know, traveling, doing all these amazing things, but never really financially, like probably in the last couple of years, starting to financially think about what my future looks like. But, you know, not a lot of us spend a lot of time around, you know, older generations. And it's just, you know, I'm so incredibly grateful like for that advice, and that every day I do it, because, you know, it's hard when we get to 60, 70 and we can't go to work, or we can't start businesses, or we can't do all of the things we want to be doing because our current self didn't think about that future person. And, you know, I don't spend a huge amount of time thinking about what my future self is going to be, you know, doing and whatever else. But when it comes to financial decisions, like, absolutely, it's so important to be thinking, how do we make our lives amazing for when we can't be doing what we're doing right now? And how do we generate that income so that we still can have what we've got and not have to make all those sacrifices? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So at the moment, my laptop's about to die, so I'm just going to take it with me and put it on the charger. Yeah, and I think with that as well, like, even if you feel like you don't have the capacity right now to invest for the future, know that learning about it is energetically going to attract more in. But if you have your head kind of under the covers, you know, and I'm just looking for my charger. Welcome to my bedroom.
Welcome, everyone. Well, I say that too. You've got to get the skeletons out of the closet, right? Because so many people are terrified of it. You know, I do this in business. I'm like, well, how much money are you currently spending? If I'm going to help you make profit, I need to know where it's currently going so that we can talk about, you know, to drive it the right direction. And it's like, I don't want to know that information. And it's like, well, in that case, you're never going to be able to financially secure anything, because you'll continue going backwards we won't be able to drive your business forward because we don't have any benchmarks and we don't know what money we need to bring in to be able to cover the expenses of a business and to get you to start transitioning out of your full-time or part-time employment or however it is you're surviving. And it's so interesting to me, and I probably did this once too, but how many people will not look at what those numbers look like? It's so important.
Yeah, it is. It's really important, and know that like you're not alone. Like, you know, if it is hard, that you're not alone, because it is challenging to look at it. It's like really, it can be really, really scary. I can feel overwhelming, and numbers can feel like, oh, I don't understand them. But the truth is that the whole universe is based on numbers. Like everything is based on numbers.
Yeah.
And intuitively, you know this stuff. It's just that you're not used to it, and it will get easier, and it can actually be fun. Knowing your numbers is fun.
I love it.
It's scary. It's totally. I love doing my tax return because it's like a way for me to review what's happened for the year.
Yeah.
I'd use it as like a ritual.
Yeah. I love it too. And I love, because every month I have my monthly budget and I can always see what the gap is and how much I need to bring in. And so instead of being like, oh my goodness, this is really terrified, how am I going to pay for everything? It's like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do to be able to fill that gap. And then you just sit and it's like, oh, well, what if I added a little bit more onto that to put more into this or more over to that savings account or my holiday fund or whatever. And it just keeps on growing, right? Because you're looking at the abundance instead of I don't have anything. It is how do I attract? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, Freya, before we jumped on, or when we were organising this session together, you know, I asked you if you had any really exciting opportunities or offers available for anyone who does watch today's interview. And could you share a little bit around what you do have available for anyone that is interested?
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, I share financial education, and I share bits and pieces on, you know, what I'm going through as well. There's actually, you know, I share stuff around sex, relationships, money, health, wellness. So for anybody who would like to join that weekly inspiration, sometimes I send a few emails a day, sometimes I send an email once a week, depending on what my soul's saying and how I'm feeling. Then you can go to my website, freyasavage.com, and please subscribe and send me a mail and let me know that you've come through this live. And I'd love to share a free training with you on the biggest money mistakes that I see people make. It's a really powerful one. And if you are interested in learning more about investments, I'm running an investment course at the moment, and it's called Invest Like a Queen, and it's 101 investment, the stuff that you should have learned in school, but we didn't. And we kicked off on just a few days ago. The recordings, all of the sessions are recorded, so you haven't missed out on anything yet. It's a super amazing, powerful training. It's everything I've learned over the last 10 years, and pretty much unlearning it. So I'm telling you the mistakes that I've made, the mistakes that I've seen in investment, and how to do it in a way that's easy, that's fun, and that actually supports your goals, and how it can be really useful to you and when it's not so useful to you. Yeah. So, and this is on my website as well under programs. And if you would like to join, I would like to give you a free coaching session with that.
Fantastic. Amazing. Thank you.
So, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Louise. It was so nice to speak with you. I feel like I could speak to you for days.
I know, right? It's crazy. And as I said to you before we started recording this, I just love who, you know, when I put out offers for people to come and join me in these interviews, I always love seeing who comes back and getting excited by, you know, the range of what amazing like women like yourself are doing. So what your work is, it's absolutely amazing. And I have loved hearing about it. And I guess my only final thing to ask you, for anyone that does watch this, where's the best way to contact you? Is it through the website, or is it through Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or how do we contact you?
Yeah. I'm all over it. Instagram, Freya_savage_. And my name is spelled Freya. I don't know if you can put that. Maybe you can put it up.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. And my website as well, if you want to send me an email or subscribe to my weekly emails.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Wonderful. Well, I should let you get going because it is, of course, probably coming into the afternoon, early afternoon over in Bali. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to go surfing now.
And I'll let you go and enjoy, living the life that you love.
Thankfully.
And thank you for all your insight, all of your wisdom, all of your inspiration. It really is. I love being able to connect with women who have taken the leap out of corporate simply because they just couldn't do it anymore. And traveling and doing all the amazing things. So thank you so much for giving up your time today. And I've loved connecting, and it'll be cool to be able to catch up again and we can have more chats.
Oh, absolutely. I would love that. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak to you. I feel really expanded by having this conversation.